Howdy mates. Good late morning once again. So this is a part 2 video visiting the Minnesota Scrub Preserve. So as you can see, I don't know how well you guys can see it, but if you look very carefully in the distance on this cabbage palm, right there, that little dot that my pointing finger is located, that is a scrub jay. Scrub jays are essentially a type of bird that is endemic to Florida. Now, for those of you who don't know what endemic means, it basically describes a species that is only found in a particular region. So, for instance, the Florida scrub jay is only found in Florida. That's it. It's the only part. They're found nowhere else in the world. And with that being said, you'll only find them in a scrub habitat. Hence the name of scrub jay. And they are indeed a distant relative to the blue jay. But they are not the same species by any means. Now, a lot of management that happens on a scrub habitat actually suits the scrub jay very well, because scrub jays usually prefer, nesting and feeding within shrubs that don't grow as high as that of our other trees. So essentially, they can only live in a scrub habitat. And that's why prescribed burns happen here all the time. Usually every 1 to 3 years. So they happen very frequently. And actually you can tell, like where I'm standing right now, you can tell that a burn probably happened here about a couple of months ago, which actually is true. But it's just remarkable to see how quickly regrowth happens. But these prescribed burns, they're important for many reasons. One of them is it helps maintain a particular habitat. And with that being said, it doesn't allow a particular native plant to take over completely. So essentially all of the vegetation is kept in check of each other. And that's the thing. If prescribed burns did not happen, eventually this habitat that I'm standing in would eventually develop into a hardwood hammock, which is a lot more forested. And those types of habitats aren't suitable for particular species that need a scrub habitat. Great examples can include the scrub jay, as I was just talking about, and even the gopher tortoise, because by then it's even harder for them to burrow into the ground, as there's a lot more root establishment. Wow, it's just a gorgeous day. So, as always, I always like to think of prescribed burning as the rebirth of a phoenix. I always found this to be a fascinating interpretive sign. Basically talks about pine flatwoods and whether they're mesic or scrubby. So essentially where we are, we're kind of standing in the mesic flatwoods right now, because the vegetation is a bit more minimal, and the most common feature here are some of your muscovine, Lyonia, and saw palmetto. So those plants are a lot shorter in height. But then you go a bit further in that direction, that's where you start to see more of the scrubby flatwoods. So that means you'll see more of those shrubs. And you also still see the slash pine. But here's the thing, like with scrubby flatwoods, these are a couple of things to look for. You know, you'll see a bit more of the Sands live oak, Chapman's oak, and myrtle oak. But then in the Mesic flatwoods, you'll see like your blazing star, pawpaw, and lopsided Indian grass. So that's another thing too, is you have to look at the vegetation that's here. That's how you can really tell the difference of what habitat it is you're standing in. And a lot of it has to do with how much water is available too. But yeah, you guys are more than welcome to take the time to read. But yeah, like Mesic flatwoods, as it's mentioning here, it's usually acidic, low in organic matter, and has a bit more mid-story. So yeah, essentially what this is, like with this vegetation, they call it a mid-story. So it's not the complete floor, but it's not the canopy either. It's right in that middle, if you know what I mean. But yep. So that is essentially how you can really tell the difference. Now you saw the label, Sands live oak. Is that really the same thing as a live oak? Well, they're very similar, but here's the difference in how you can tell. See, Sands live oak tends to be much more clustered. So, and they're actually a bit more thinner as well. You know, in terms of like the circumference of the trunk. But then live oak, on the other hand, produces a much larger canopy, and with that being said, they usually appear more isolated because of how much ground cover they have. So that's a key difference to look for if you want to distinguish between Sands live oak and live oak. But yeah, as I've mentioned before, you know, when prescribed burns happen, when I was talking about the gopher tortoise the other day, they're that keystone species in this type of environment. Because since their burrows provide a living space for up to 360 separate living species, some of those fellow homies can use that cover when a prescribed burn happens. And that, my friends, is why we need the gopher tortoise. And, you know, they just really help maintain that biodiversity. And that's why we have parks like this, so we can really see a piece of Florida's natural world, and also the food chain in action. So alright, you guys, thanks for taking the time to watch, and also the support, always appreciated. If you ever want to recommend other friends and family of yours, whether it be on Facebook, YouTube, or even Instagram, give them a recommendation. Invite them to follow my page. The more the merrier. So, hope you guys enjoy your wacky Wednesday. And once again, Journey on a Journey is outwards. Take care, folks. See ya.